Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bon Voyage Besties, your go to podcast for all things travel. We're your hosts, Rachel and Rosa. Even though we both have a home base in the lovely state of New Jersey, we're always dreaming about and planning our next getaway. Today, we're so excited to be joined by Sam. She writes high converting copy for service providers while running her business on the road. While she did quit her job to travel the world, she's also built a business that travels with her even though it's not travel focused. From website copy to sales emails, Sam can work from anywhere: a cafe in Paris, a beach in Mexico, or a van parked in the Rockies. In this episode, we're diving into Sam's journey to full time entrepreneurship, how she balances work and wanderlust, and what it really looks like to be a part time digital nomad. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show. We're excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
I want to learn more about this because, like, when I was younger, I totally romanticized being a digital nomad. So I'm
Yeah,
super
same.
excited to dive into it.
Before we get into that, I'm a little bit curious as far as your day job. Can you get into that a little bit for our listeners?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you mentioned, I work for myself. I built a copywriting business. Back in 2019, I was working in sales and was very much tethered to where I was. I was asking my boss if I could go remote. The answer was always no, which is kind of funny because then, like a year after I quit, the whole company went remote. But I knew that, like, I wanted to be on the road. I wanted to be traveling. I was in Dallas, Texas at the time, and I was like, I'm meant for more. So yeah, built my copywriting business while on the road ever since then.
Love that.
That's
So
so cool.
adventurous.
Yeah.
That is so brave. Like, I have to hand it to you. Like, during COVID, I always fantasized about leaving everything and just like working from a beach in South France, but I could never quite
Mhm.
bring myself to do it.
I felt like my job was one of those like essential workers. And I think we worked from home for like 2 days. But it's funny how you mentioned that you wanted to be remote. And then the universe spoke for itself and then it happened.
Yeah. So yeah, I quit my job in 2019. So I was like a little bit ahead of the curve on that whole shebang. But I'm glad that I was because 2020 was actually really good for my business. I was one of the few. So yeah, it all worked out.
That's really cool. So, out of curiosity, I know some people who have taken the leap to be a digital nomad, but they're technically working for another company.
Mhm.
So, what inspired you to take that leap from a traditional job to full time entrepreneurship? Because this is something I love to talk about too, because my dad's actually an entrepreneur. He and my uncle
Mhm.
went into business together and opened up their own firm when they were 25 with no boss. So, that always is so amazing to me. So, what inspired you to make that leap to be like, you know what, I'm going to work for myself and nobody else?
Yeah, so I didn't necessarily do it intentionally, and I don't really recommend the way that I did it for everyone because I was fortunate. So I was in sales, and in sales, you get paid out bonuses, and I was good at my job. So I got big bonuses. So I was putting those bonuses aside because I knew that I wasn't going to be at that company forever. And I knew that being in sales, it was really hard to find remote jobs, especially again, this is like 2017 through 19 that I was thinking this and like setting money aside. So when it came time and I just hit a breaking point at my job. So it wasn't necessarily that I was ready for entrepreneurship, which is why I don't recommend it for everybody. I wasn't ready for entrepreneurship. I just was so done at that job. And so my thought was, I've got enough money to take a few months off. I'm going to take a few months off and just like travel and like finally do the thing that I said I would always do. And then I'll go back and like start searching for jobs online, talk to my network, whatever. So after a couple months, I started asking people who I knew who owned businesses or were high up in their companies, like, do you guys need anything? Do you need somebody to do gig work? Because at that point, then my mindset shifted to let's just see how long I can extend this time of not being full time employed. At the time, I was in like Thailand. So life was super cheap too. And every person who I reached out to was like, can you write this thing for me? Whether it was their website or their blogs, or some of it was by the hour, some of it was by the project. And I was just happy for whatever came my way. But what I realized was I missed selling and I was really good at selling, but that I could do it just when I was writing for other people and helping them sell using their websites and emails. So I kind of stumbled into where I am now. Again, like super fortunate, but I didn't necessarily set out to like be an entrepreneur as much as I set out to create a lifestyle that like I had ownership of and where I had freedom.
I love that though. And you said, so initially when you left Dallas, was your goal to go to Thailand or did you have another destination in mind or how did that come about?
Yeah, I was actually on vacation in Vietnam with a friend, and I was CC'd on an email that I wasn't supposed to see, and it really stressed me out. And my friend was like, dude, Sam, like, you've wanted to quit this job forever. You keep putting like another wall in front of yourself of like, well, when I pay off my student loans, and then like when I have this much in savings, and then like when I've put in 2 full years with the company. And he was like, when are you going to stop doing that to yourself? Dang it, you're right. So I actually quit my job then and there while we were in Vietnam. And then after that, rather than coming back to the States, I just stayed in Southeast Asia for a couple months.
That's so adventurous. I mean, I give that to you because I've been in my company for a very, very long time because I am a creature of habit and just like the unknown just kind of freaks me out.
Mhm.
So for you to just kind of take that leap, I mean, I give you props and it seemed like it's all worked out for itself. So
Yeah, it
sometimes you
did,
do
and
have
like
to
I said,
take
I
that
don't
leap.
recommend it for everybody the way that I did it because I had a lot of financial support behind me at that time. I wouldn't have quit my job if I had a bunch of debt and, like, no savings and all of that. That would have been too far outside of my comfort zone. So for me, at that point, did feel safe.
You're definitely more financially responsible than we are.
Yeah, we make jokes about it all the time on the podcast. And it's nice that you were in such a beautiful area too. I've actually,
Mhm.
side note, have been watching a lot of shows that take place in Thailand. And I'm just like ready to pack my bags and go. I was actually looking at airline tickets today at work.
It's cheap. There's worse places to go.
Yeah, and the beaches look beautiful and I love like the food. So I've just like had that on the brain. So I know for me, I work as a high school teacher and I have to be super duper organized. So having a schedule really helps me stay on track. And I know when I was working remote very briefly during COVID, sometimes it was difficult like being in my apartment, managing my time. So how do you manage running a thriving business while traveling part-time? Because that's another thing. I feel like I would always get distracted by the amazing things to do and then never actually sit and work.
Yeah, it really just comes down to discipline. So when I'm in the US, only schedule my calls. When I'm in the US, I'm usually Pacific time. So I only schedule calls from 6 to 10 a.m. Pacific, which would be 9 to noon or 9 to 1 Eastern, which is like very normal hours. I can talk to people East Coast, West Coast, like, and get that done. But then when I'm in Europe or Africa, it's still really, I think, like 4 to 7 p.m. is what that comes to. And then if I were in Asia, it would be like 7 to 10 p.m., which isn't ideal. But that way, like with that discipline and that level of organization, I only take meetings like at the same times and I only take meetings Monday through Thursday. So I always have my Friday evenings free when I'm abroad. Other than that, it's remembering that I'm not on vacation, even though every place is like new and fun and exciting, because I'm there for typically a month to 3 months at a time too. When you go on vacation and it's just like, oh, I'm going to go out for a beer every night of the week because like YOLO, I'm on vacation, that's just not sustainable when you're working. So it comes down to discipline and like both schedule and habits and like forcing yourself onto a sleep schedule and a gym schedule and everything just like at home. But then rather than hanging out at home and watching Netflix every night the way that we would at home, we can like go out and explore. And then typically it's the morning that we have open, especially in different time zones. So then I can like go to a museum, go to a meetup group, go do something all day, and then do meetings in the afternoon. So it's just kind of a schedule flop.
Sounds so nice. I'm just thinking about going like to the Met in the morning. That would be a perfect
Mhm.
day and taking calls in the afternoon.
Exactly.
I think that's definitely important because, again, for myself, I thrive when I am on a schedule, on a routine. And like you said, you can be back in the States watching Netflix. Why not be in Thailand and using your morning to walk around the beach instead or go to like the temples, be around Bangkok? So it's all
Mhm.
about setting a routine. And if it's something that you looking to do, then definitely, depending on the career, obviously, because there's some careers that you can do digital nomad or even the remote work. But if you are in that field, then take advantage because time is something that you don't get back.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right.
It's exactly why I justify all my bad financial decisions over summer with Euro summer every year.
Yeah, but like there's so many teachers that I meet that are out that do that, or people who do seasonal work like on boats and stuff. Like you'll meet people who they're at home when they're at home, and then like the minute that the semester ends or the minute their assignment wherever they are ends, they just ricochet off to the next corner of the planet that they want to go to.
It's the best way to be.
I'm like taking notes. But I'm curious, aside from Thailand, what other destinations do you think are great when it comes to being a digital nomad and actually finding that community and other people that are kind of on the same journey?
Yeah, digital nomad hotspots are going to be, Chiang Mai, Thailand, the islands in Thailand, lots of places in Vietnam, Bali, of course. Everybody's in Bali. Playa del Carmen, Mexico. There's a lot of places in Mexico. Puerto Escondido, Medellin, Colombia. Gosh, there's a few places. Floripa in Brazil, Buenos Aires, although Buenos Aires is like really expensive right now because there's some political like changes happening. And so there's a lot of inflation in Europe. I mean, there's so many pockets of Europe, of course, like Berlin and Paris, but also tons of small towns are really popping up. Croatia just announced a digital nomad visa, where you can stay for 3 years. So that's fun and exciting. And you don't have to pay taxes in the country, which is helpful. Cape Town,
That's
South
hot.
Africa.
I was like,
is
sign
huge.
me up. I know I was looking at Australia the other day and one particular visa, I think you had to be like 32 years old. And I'm like, well, I passed that window.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I was actually just complaining about my taxes today. So hearing that about the Croatian visa, I'm like,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Although Croatia is not as cheap, especially now that they're on the euro. So it
Now
won't
that
be
they're on
as
the euro,
affordable.
yeah. Yeah, but everybody kind of writes off the internal of like the not by the coast part of Croatia. And like the other one that just came out with one is Albania. Albania has a visa where you can stay for a year, basically no questions asked. And they're not on the euro and they're a lot cheaper and they're just south of Croatia. So you've also got that same like coastal vibe. It's super close to the Greek islands, which is cool. But yeah, Albania is one that's popping up. I was just there a couple months ago. I don't know that it's like fully ready for all of the tourism, but it'll get there because everybody's going there.
I was gonna say
and
it's
then-
becoming a popular destination. I'm seeing a lot on social media. So I'm like, all right, give it 2 more years and it's gonna be like one of those it spots.
Yeah, but also like get in there. Get in there while it's cheap. Go before it's like really at its peak, then because I think too, like being my age, our age, is like our friends or our like my friends' parents always told these stories of like, I remember going there before cell phones, or I remember going there before it was big. It was just this little town that nobody had ever heard of. And it's like, I don't think we get that as much now that social media exists too, that people go to these hotspots like crazy. So I think when we have the opportunity to go somewhere like Albania that not all of our friends have been to yet, it's a really good opportunity to try to visit places that aren't over touristed yet, because I think they will be soon.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like you said, Albania is one of those places that I see popping up on social media a lot because those beaches are absolutely spectacular. I see those beaches like as I'm scrolling Instagram and I'm freezing in New Jersey and I'm just like, what am I doing?
Yeah, and the mountains too. Like for being a tiny country, there's so much to do there.
Like, I'm convinced. I know one
Yeah.
of my good friends, she lives in Portugal, and we were actually talking about going to Albania last year, but she has a really good friend who's from Albania. But she was like, let's make it a girls' trip when the 3 of us can actually go. So instead, we opted to go to Croatia, which I love, by the way. And I would totally go back, but Albania is definitely high up on my bucket list. I'm like, this is just like, the universe is telling me, just pack your bags, Rosa, and just go.
Yeah, as you should.
As you should. As you said. I'll be right there with you, Rosa. We'll take Bon Voyage Besties on the road. World tour.
But I'm just a little curious, Sam. So you write high converting copy for service providers. So how did you build this business model that supports your travel lifestyle without it being a travel focused career?
Yeah, so when I was still in corporate, I had a travel blog and it really ruined travel for me because I felt like I was looking at everything through the lens of like, how do I write this? How do I make a pin about this for Pinterest? I stopped liking writing because it no longer felt creative. And then I stopped liking travel because I felt like I was doing it to like check this box, trying to make money from it. So I knew that that's not what I wanted. My sales career was in finance and technology. So I was like, why don't I just help people sell who are in like finance and professional services and technology versus the travel business, which also was a strategic move in 2020 because all the travel companies didn't have any money that year. I just kind of built it around my network from my professional career versus like my side gig and my travel career. And then ultimately, like after a couple of years, I gave up on the travel blog anyway. It wasn't bringing me joy or money. But my company is called Nomad Copy Agency. And it's important to me that it's called that and that people know I'm not going to be in New Jersey. I'm not going to be in California. Like, it's no surprise when it's like, oh, Sam, your background looks different. You're in Brazil. That's cool. Like, there's no surprise. And I think part of that was probably a reactive decision on my part because I wasn't allowed to go remote in my corporate world where I was like, no, I need people to know, like, this is who I am. This is who you're working with, is somebody who is fully remote. And it really helps to level set expectations.
Yeah, I love that with the name and just being like out front with it, being like, this is who I am. This is what I love. Take it or leave it. I think there's something really empowering about that, especially after being told no before. It's kind of like
Mhm.
reclaiming who you are.
Exactly. Exactly. It was like, I'm not going to create another crappy job for myself. I'm going to like do something that I like and it gives me yeah, that like autonomy that I was looking for.
Yeah, I really
Exactly.
love that. Yeah. And I also like too that your business isn't travel related because I think a lot of the time in the travel content creation world, there's this expectation that if you're going to go nomadic, that you have to like live and breathe travel, that it has to be absolutely everything. I have a travel blog too. I still update it from time to time, but there's been a lot of changes like with Google's updates, with AI,
Mhm.
and it's just like the world's kind of in disarray right now. So when that wasn't bringing me joy anymore, I took a break from it because I felt like every time I would log on, I would just feel sad. And it was like, well, why do this if it's going to be miserable? You're already like busy, there's other things going on. Don't
Mhm.
make more work for yourself.
Don't make more work for yourself and like don't take away the things that bring you joy and like turn them into jobs. Like we just don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. I know a lot of people, so I have my corporate job and then I do travel content creation and travel writing on the side.
Mhm.
And it's something that I do for fun. And yes, I get paid for it. So the money aspect is a definitely huge bonus, but I do it more because it's a creative outlet. And when people ask me, is your ultimate goal to one day be a full time like content creator or travel writer? I'm like, not really, because if I had to do it and my livelihood depended on it, I don't think I would enjoy it as much because there's time. Like I was having a conversation today with someone and she was asking me like, how do you maintain being present when you travel to a destination, but you're also like on a press trip? And I'm like, it's really hard and you have to kind of pick and choose. So for me, like if I'm on vacation with like my husband, my daughter, I want to live in the moment. I don't want to create content all the time. And if I
Mhm.
was a full-time content creator, I feel like I wouldn't be able to enjoy travel as much as I do because I'm doing it for fun. I'm experiencing everything, seeing the destination, getting to meet people. But when you have to do it around the clock, I personally is just not something that would bring me absolute joy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so that just like speaks to our soul. And I think it's again, it's really cool that you're doing this, but you're running a business that's not travel related. So I know we already talked about the importance of keeping a schedule. I know that would be something that I would struggle with as a digital nomad, but what have been some of the other biggest challenges of working on the road and what sort of lessons or systems have helped you stay grounded during those challenges?
Yeah, I think it's the FOMO. It's the, when all my friends are headed out to dinner on a random Tuesday and I've got 3 meetings, so I really can't. Like those that can be challenging. The other thing is there are some places where the things that we just take for granted aren't a given. Like, for example, Cape Town, South Africa is an incredible place. It's very comfortable. It's very similar to the US, but their electric grid is like just run differently from ours. So sometimes and they usually plan them. It's called load shedding, but there will be blackouts. So that's kind of okay during the day because you can hotspot to your computer. But at night, it's like, well, then I have to take a Zoom call in the pitch black because nowhere on the street has lights. So that can be interesting. And like the joke there is ABC, always be charging. Like you always want your phone and your computer charged up just in case.
Oh, I'm
So
so
things like
paranoid
that.
about not having a charge. I'm always like double checking. I have a portable charger I actually take with me to school, especially with soccer going on, because I'm like, I
Mhm.
cannot lose a charge on my phone. I have that ingrained in my skull.
Yeah, yeah. So for somewhere like that, it's always be charging. But like I mean, I live in California. We have rolling brownouts every so often too. So it's not like something I've never dealt with before, but it is just those challenges of like adapting to a place. Or like for me, I get really tired when I'm practicing a new language. So when I was in Buenos Aires and I would like go out into the world and try and speak Spanish, and I would come home and I would just be so tired. And it's like, but my job starts now because they're 4 hours ahead of Pacific time. So then when I would be like, out and about all morning and then have to come back and work all afternoon, and I would be like, "Oh man, I'm just like really tired," because like life just takes a different effort, but it's also a choose your hard kind of situation.
Yeah, definitely. I always feel that way too when I'm traveling. Like I speak a little French, but not very well. And I noticed that too after doing that like all day. I would feel like a little wiped out because it's like your brain's going back and forth in two languages. And then like I'm thinking about having the work then on top of that seems pretty intense. A follow-up question to that is because like this has come up with different friends of mine who are digital nomads, just like building a community. Have you found that to be a challenge at all, like moving so frequently?
No, I haven't found it to be a challenge because typically I either go somewhere that I already know people or that I know that there's a plug-in community. So there's groups like I was part of one called Wi-Fi Tribe for a while, and that's a group of people who everybody's employed either by themselves or another company, and they do all the work as far as setting up a house or a set of apartments, and you just pay them and show up, and it's month to month. So people will show up. Everybody shows up on the same day, everybody leaves on the same day. So you have this like set community for a full month. I've done that a few times. There are places called co-livings. One of the biggest companies right now is Outsite, and that has been a really good one. I've stayed in one of those before. A couple of companies have changed in the last couple of years, but then I've met so many people while traveling that now a lot of the time I just go places that I know I'm gonna have people, because it's like, "Oh, Charlotte is in Cape Town this winter. Great, I'll see if she needs a roommate," and then Charlotte and I end up in Cape Town for the winter. So, I think the getting started, it's nice to have a community, but otherwise it's just showing up to coworkings and co-livings and talking to strangers.
That sounds like fun though. I'm like,
It
I
is.
don't know why randomly as you're telling the stories, I'm thinking of like showing up at the Jersey Shore when that was like popular and you had like these 7 groups of strangers like showing up at this house and you already kind of build that bond because you're kind of on the same trajectory, even though you're coming from different
Mhm.
walks of life, but you have like some similarities and stuff like that. So I don't know why
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, sounds like the Jersey Shore.
Yeah. There probably is one on the Jersey Shore.
I was watching the reunion last week, so that's why it's like high in my mind.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
the professional version of the Jersey Shore. I'm sure there's some partying involved, but you know.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah, I
gosh.
mean, we're all adults.
Yeah. I don't want to think about how long ago it was that show aired. I was kind of thinking about my age the other day and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't with this.
Well, I saw the other day that Grey's Anatomy is scheduled to start season 22, and I remember when that started, and I was
Gosh.
like, that feels rude."
I am insulted by that. What? Me
I was
too?
like, as I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, they must do multiple seasons in a year," and then I was like, "That's not how that works, Sam, like, co come on."
Anything to justify it.
Yeah, yeah.
I know
Oh
you
my
kind of
god.
touched a little bit, knowing that there's someone going to be at a destination, but are there other factors when choosing where to travel next?
Yeah, so especially because I do most of my traveling solo, there's a safety factor, there's a fun factor. I'm not just gonna go to, like, I don't know, I can't even, like, think of a place that would be so off the grid, but, like, I don't know, Central Russia for the sake of it. Like, no, there has to be something that draws me there. So, like, something fun, like the lifestyle. A lot of times I follow the weather, so I typically spend the first quarter out of the country because it's cold in the US and I don't like cold and rainy. So I go where the sun is. So that's why this year I spent in Buenos Aires. Last year I was in Southeast Asia. The year before that it was Africa. Year before that it was South America again, and then year before that was Africa. So I follow the weather. I do follow the Wi-Fi. I can't go to like the cool camping community that you saw on Instagram. Like I just can't. I do need I can do that for a few days, but to get really good work done and to communicate with my clients, I can't do that. Cost of living plays a factor. Like, I think about places like Switzerland and I'm like, I would go there for a week. I don't know that I would go there for several months. It's great. It's gorgeous. It would be different if I had a lodging taken care of or something. But yeah, it's just kind of a mix. But a lot of times it's just, where are my friends? I have some friends going to South Asia this year that really want me to go. And I'm like, that sounds great. As long as they're going to be there to hang out and work. And I know there's plenty of Wi Fi. I mean, there's so many remote workers in South Asia, especially people who serve the US market. So a lot of people are also working US hours. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. But yeah, I have to be able to afford it and connect to Wi Fi.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I like what you said about also connecting with friends because I feel like my own traveling has sort of turned in that direction. So I did a lot of solo travel in my 20s, but then as I've gotten older, it's sort of similar in the sense that like I would meet all these people in hostels and we would just keep the friendship going.
Mhm.
So, for example, in February, I'm doing a trip to London to see friends. And one of the friends I met on a trip in Osaka, another friend I met at a blogging convention in
Yeah.
Liverpool, and the other one I met in Chicken Reykjavik, and we're all just like meeting in London to hang out. And it's just really, really cool because that was like a central place where we can meet. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's where I'm going for this trip. And then we'll discuss amongst ourselves where should we go in the summer. And sometimes I'll just like pick a place randomly, and someone who I met at a hostel years ago will reach out and be like, oh, hey, I'm in that area too. Let's meet up. So I do like that the friends play a factor in it because it's really the same for me, even though I'm not a full time nomad or anything.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I still don't mind traveling solo. Like, I went on this trip back in September, and I traveled much faster than I usually do, but I basically did a week each in 4 different places, but they were like a 3-hour bus ride from each other. It wasn't huge. But I did a week each in these 4 different countries, Albania being one of them, and I told my friends, I was like, "This is where I'm going. Everybody's invited. You should come. This is the plan. Do it." And I had, like, 2 friends meet me for weekends. But it's like, I also can't wait for everybody else to catch up. I can't wait for somebody to be done planning their wedding, paying their car off, whatever other people's goals are. I love that and I appreciate that about them and I want them to achieve their goals, but I'm not waiting 3 years for somebody to be ready to go. I'll go back in 3 years is what I'll end up doing, but everybody's always invited, and then I end up traveling solo a lot anyway, which is fine.
I love that mindset of not waiting for someone else in order for you to go out there and explore. Because, like you said, we're all in a different journey. And I know for myself, my daughter, she's off in college, whereas, like, my close friends, their kids are like toddlers. So they don't have the freedom that I currently have in my stage in life. So for me, it's easy
Mhm,
to kind of pick up and just go. Obviously, I have other constraints like work and all that other jazz, but it's a little bit more easier for me to plan things and to be able to go away. So it is nice when I do have other friends that can join me. But now I'm at that point in life that I'm just like, you know what? No one else can join me and I want to go and it's an opportunity. I'm just gonna do it by
mhm.
myself and why not? So
Yeah,
be adventurous. So I
absolutely.
definitely love that. And that's like one of our goal with the podcast is to kind of help promote that inner strength because I think sometimes we kind of get in our own heads and we're always finding, like you said early on, we're always finding an excuse like, oh, I need to save for this or I can't do it because of these challenges. But if it's something that you really want to do, like now's the time because again, time is a currency you never get back. So there's no
Mhm.
better time than today to just do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I love that. The time is a currency you'll never get back.
Yeah, it's
Unlike
so
money,
true.
according to Rachel.
Wow. I have a lot of thoughts on that. That's why with me, I'm just like, yeah, just do it. The money will come back, but your time won't come back. I have not
Mhm.
regretted any of that money I have spent to go to Japan, to go to France. There was like years ago, I was like, I think 27, and I got laid off from my first teaching job. I don't work at the school anymore. It was years ago. And I had a 7 week backpacking trip book in the summer. And my mom was like, you sure you want to go on this rather than apply for jobs? And I'm like, I'm going on this. And then when I was there in Austria, the school called me back and was like, oh, your position reopened up. So could you have imagined if I would have stayed home in New Jersey applying for jobs instead of going for 7 weeks in Europe and then got that call? I would have
Mhm.
like lost my mind. Like I really would have.
Yeah, yeah. No, you can always make more money, but you can't earn more time.
So true. I feel like that's like a our ongoing slogan for this podcast. But I'm curious, what would be some of your tips for someone that does want to get into becoming a digital nomad? Like what are some steps that they should take or at least
Yeah.
consider?
So for myself, I don't have kids, I don't have pets. I when I started being a digital nomad, I did have a mortgage, but I was able to get a renter. So for me, it was about setting up my life now the way that I wanted it to look in the future. It wasn't like, "Oh man, I'll have to rehome a dog in a couple years when I decide to do this." It was very much like, I am a person who is on this path. There were a lot of decisions that were made earlier, like in my 20s, that I knew I was setting myself up where I was like, I know I'm paying off my debt because this is something I want to do someday. I know that I'm getting a house that will be easy to rent because this is something that I want to do someday. But even the little things as far as like go try something new. Like, go try making friends. Also, like, with the understanding that not every time you leave the house are you going to make a new friend, but like, go to Run Club, go to meetups that you find on meetup.com, start hosting people in your house and kind of starting to pay that forward for when you're a traveler and you need a favor. I think there's a lot for just like a lot to say for just plugging into the digital nomad community. Even when I'm stationary, my personal trainer is another digital nomad. So she's always available on the phone. I don't have to worry about like showing up to a gym on her schedule. I can show up on my schedule and know that she's kind of in my pocket. So I really set my life up even when I'm home to be like pretty easy to go. Even like, this is so silly, but even like the way that I get my hair done is like not something that takes a lot of maintenance where I need to go in every couple months and like get my roots touched up. And if I do, you can totally do that literally anywhere in the world that anybody would want to travel. And like, if you can't get your hair done there, then it's probably not a place where they're going to be like, that girl's roots. But like, seriously, like I do
And I'm
balayage
like,
because
my
it grows
grays are
out so
showing.
easily. Yeah. No. Like I do balayage because it grows out easily as my highlights.
Yeah.
Like it's just little things like that. Also I plan ahead for where I'm going. I'm headed to Mexico next week. Things like personal care, like going to the dentist is way cheaper than going to the dentist out of pocket in the US. Things like getting my nails done, getting a wax, getting my eyebrows done. Like that's way cheaper there. And I've been there so many times, like to the town that I'm going to, where it's like I've already got my people, but like I'm going to do it there because why would I spend $300 this week in the US when I could spend $100 next week in Mexico? So yeah, it's just like things like that where as you start to set up your life for that's what you want, like when next time it's time to take out a credit card, make sure it's one that can spend in every country because my Amex doesn't spend in every country. My bank account is through Charles Schwab because there's no ATM fees to pull cash anywhere in the world because that'll get you in a lot of places. So it's just like making the things that you do at home make your travel life a lot easier. And then it makes it easier to kind of pop in and out.
I love that. I absolutely love that. It's funny when you were talking about getting your nails done in Mexico, I was checking out my manicure and I was thinking of how much I spend to get them done in New Jersey. So I'm like, maybe that's a reason to eventually go remote
Yeah.
and just get them done anywhere to have like cheaper manicures. It's always a good reason.
It's
Yeah,
like girl
yeah.
math. Go to Mexico for cheap manicure.
Seriously though, like, cause even the last time I went to a dermatologist was in Mexico, cause I ended up being there for like all of 2020 and like part of 2021. Maybe it was like the latter half of 2020. So like I was established. Like I had my person that I would go to for different things. I had my dermatologist, I had my dentist, I had my nail lady that I would go to every few weeks. And like I think people also are like, I don't know if I trust a place in Mexico or whatever. And it's like it's especially like being in Playa del Carmen, like it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. And like so much of the world has the same or better standards than we do, where I think a lot of people psych themselves out before they ever go anywhere that like it won't be safe to be there. And
Yeah.
my thoughts on safety are like the worst thing that happens to me is I pay a lot of money to feel safer. And then I end up being pleasantly surprised everywhere that I go. That I've only ever one time been in a situation where I was like, I'm getting a taxi to the Hilton. Like, no, like most of the time, based off of vibes and other people's recommendations, everything has turned out a-okay. And the worst thing that happens to me is I come out of pocket for something.
Yeah, I would say like the same with me, like doing a lot of solo travel. I've had some dicey situations here and there. A lot of them were just like being in my 20s and being stupid. Like it wasn't necessarily the destination, it was more me. But it's really true. Before I started traveling solo, I would psych myself out a lot and be like, oh, this is too dangerous, or I can't afford this, or I'm going to be lonely. And it goes back to what you were saying before about putting all those roadblocks up. I think at the end of the day, the person who's always standing in the way of getting what you want is yourself. It's not your family, it's not your friends, it's not your job, it's you. And it's so important to just like get past all that self-doubt and to just like go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, as a woman and as a person who solo travels, the number one question I get is like, oh, is it safe there though? And I was like, it's probably safer than New Jersey. Like, it's
Yeah.
probably safer than California. It's probably safer than whatever terrible thing happened in some big city that you saw on the news. It's probably fine.
I know we
Definitely
always joke
financially
around.
safer. I
Yeah.
looked at my rent today. I'm like, I'm sure everywhere's financially safer than New Jersey right now.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
place that I was
that's a whole
staying
nother
at on the
topic.
beach in Montenegro was $300 a week for a private room. It was a shared kitchen, but it was a private room and bathroom. It was $300 a week. And of course, like all utilities included, the Wi-Fi never once went out. Like everything was great. And I was a 10-minute walk from world-class beaches, around the corner from a grocery store, around the corner from a gym, and like cafes and walkable this and walkable that. And like everything was great. And it was a house share. And yeah, like why do I live in the States?
I'm going to
I
sit
asked my
here and
question-
question myself.
Because we talking of nonsense about New Jersey, so we won't we won't trash talk it today. But I like what you say about building that sense of community, because then it does make it easier if you do want to go to a new destination. You can kind of pick someone's brain. They can kind of give you some of the insights of where to stay, more recommendations. And at least, like you said, at least from a woman's perspective, when you're going to a new destination, maybe you don't feel as isolated. You get a little bit more sense of security going into a new place. But I'm curious, has there been a destination that has pleasantly surprised you?
I just got back from Montenegro and loved it. I was planning on moving on from there and ended up staying in this tiny little town for 2.5 weeks. Just loved it. North Macedonia also recently just really wowed me. A couple of years ago, I went to South Africa and I was like, I cannot come back here until I'm ready to move here, because I was like, Cape Town is it. Cape Town is everything. Love Brazil. I think the biggest like one that wows other people is Lebanon. Lebanon is like some of the wildest parties I've ever been to in my life, first of all. Like
I've heard
the club
this.
scene
I've heard
there.
that. Yeah.
And I was in my late 20s when I was there, but like the club scene, but then also like the longest inhabited city in the world is like still standing, like 2 miles down the road. Like, I think everybody's just like shocked because I think we see like every 10 years something bad happens in Lebanon and we make an assumption about what Lebanon is. And like, Lebanon is a lot of things, and incredible is the biggest one. Like, I think Lebanon's the greatest place. Where else has pleasantly surprised me? I thought Helsinki.
I'm like, you're
Finland
naming
was-
all these spots. I'm like, I just want to go. And especially like
Yeah.
Montenegro. It's funny because last year when my friend and I decided to do Croatia, we were both turning 40 last year. So we're like, all right, let's pick a destination that we've never been to. And then my husband got FOMO and he's like, well, I kind of want to join the girls trip. And I
Mhm.
was like, all right, fine. Let's go somewhere like within the vicinity and then I'll meet her there. And Montenegro was one of those places. But then the flights, it wasn't as economical as I wanted it to
Yeah.
be out of New Jersey. So then we ended up just doing a longer trip into Croatia, which I loved.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. The other one that I don't know that I would go like nomad, like digital nomad long term in, but I was in Laos for 4 days last year, and Laos was just like, for the way that Southeast Asia can just be so hectic and like just constant movement, Laos was like quiet and slow and like so much nature. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being in Laos. But yeah, I think there's just so much that the world has to offer. And like, I meet people sometimes who think that it's not worth it to digital nomad around because their rationality is like, I wouldn't want to just go somewhere and sit on my computer. I can do that for free at home. And it really comes down to like the way that we spend the cracks in our time. And when we're at home, we have to get in a car to get anywhere. Oftentimes there's these like barriers to experience. And when you can pop into another culture and like pop into an Airbnb or something, it's as easy as just like opening the door and suddenly you're in something else and you get to experience something else. So yeah, you could go on an 8-day vacation, or you could go somewhere and work for a month and have your 8 weekend days. But I would rather do that and then save all of that PTO to do even more if, given the opportunity, which is how I've set this up.
I
I
love
have
that perspective.
stars in my eyes.
I'm already thinking, I'm like, well, my goal, I say to myself, but I've been saying this for the last 5 years, so let's see what happens. But I'm like, by 2026, I want to kind of position myself where I can do a little bit more of like remote work, maybe digital nomad. Hopefully by then
Mhm.
my daughter would have graduated college and she can support herself and I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Mhm.
But we'll see what happens. So check back with me in 2027.
Yeah, will do.
We'll have a reunion episode and be like, is Rosa a digital nomad? Maybe, who knows? Maybe
There
we'll
you
both
go.
be in Croatia, or we'll both be
I
in
know. I was gonna say the plot
Thailand.
twist is,
Or
yeah, we're the three of us are all in Dubrovnik at the same time.
Listen,
yes,
those are goals.
yes, that is a goal right there. That is a goal right there. 2027, we're all in Dubrovnik. Make it happen.
I'm also curious. Have you ever had like a travel fail throughout your digital nomad time?
But not That I can think of. Like, obviously things happen, you know? It's like, "Oh, that one time the keypad to get into my Airbnb didn't work," or, like, little things, or the Wi-Fi goes out and then I have to explain to somebody, or, like, I forgot to sync my calendar when I switched time zones. You know, there's little things, but I don't think there's ever been, like, so much of a disaster that it's like, this wouldn't have happened at home, you know?
And that's a
Makes
good
sense.
perspective too, because like anything can happen anywhere in the world. It's just being prepared for those situations. And like you said, kind of knowing ahead of time what are going to be some differences when you're traveling overseas or in that particular country.
Mhm. Yeah, and then there's some things that, like, I'm just so comfortable with traveling that I forget the most obvious things, like, this last time before I was about to leave, I realized I didn't have a travel adapter because mine had broken previously, or, even I've actually done this twice this year. When I headed to Argentina earlier this year, just didn't think about it. I was like, "Well, most of South America uses the same plug as the US, so Argentina must also." And they use this, like, random, like, it's not quite the Euro charger. It's like, is it skinnier or the pegs are, like, girthier? I don't remember. It's slightly different from the Euro charger, but it's only in Argentina. And I was like, "This is the dumbest thing." Like, I didn't even think to look. Like, I'm just so comfortable with just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go and everything's gonna work out," that I didn't even think to look up the adapter that I needed. And so I was, like, scrambling last minute.
That totally makes sense. It happens to me too because I like travel all the time, but then like once I'm there, I'll forget something really small and really stupid, and I'll be like, "Really? Like you've flown to Europe how many times in your life and you
Mhm.
forgot this?" Like it's such a fact. You get very comfortable and very confident. And then on
Yeah.
my last trip to Crete, I lost my phone, and it made me realize how helpless I was without a phone when traveling. Yeah, it was a whole thing. We cover it on another episode. It was a whole thing, but it's living at the bottom of the Gulf of Heraklion in Crete now.
Bummer.
But it made for a good story. So
Yes.
we're here for it.
Totally.
So what do we think, Rose? Are we ready for some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So, Sam, you're in the hot seat. So, the first one
Okay.
is: would you rather have unlimited free flights for life, but only in economy, or one luxurious first class trip anywhere in the world every year?
I would do the one luxurious trip a year because I can usually put my smaller flights on points, so it's not a big deal. But sometimes just that one really long haul trip, it would be nice to have that in first class.
No, ever since our luxury travel episode, I'm just kind of like, I want to fly first class with Emirates. I feel like it would cure my fear of
Mhm.
flying. Just have one of those like little pods with a shower and like someone waiting on me the whole time.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
please, please.
Yeah.
It does sound like the dream. All right, Sam, would you rather spend a month working remotely from the beach bungalow in Bali or a cozy cabin in the Swiss Alps? I think I know what you're going to say.
I know. So I'm torn here because if somebody else is paying for it, the cabin in the Alps, for sure. I would do that. I like give me a cozy corner of the world to curl up in and I'm happy. But if it just comes down to like based on vibes, I just end up in warm climates. So it would be the beach bungalow, but we're with the assumption that somebody else is covering the cost, the cabin.
And you're going to
Yeah.
take us with you.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. Switzerland, it's so true. Switzerland's one of those destinations I'll go to if it's on someone else's credit card because it is
Hmm.
expensive. Beautiful, but I can't pay for that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Just what I can do in 2 days in Switzerland, I could do in 2 weeks in Thailand.
I absolutely believe it. So, would you rather lose your luggage on day one of a trip or your Wi Fi connection for the entire trip? I think I know what this one's going to
The
be.
luggage, I can go shopping. I can't not work.
You're like, I need the internet.
Yeah,
We got to make money somehow.
exactly.
Yeah, especially when you're a digital nomad. Like, even when I've been on press trips and stuff, if my internet goes out, I start like feeling a little panicky because I'm like, I can't work.
Mhm.
Although sometimes I feel like I need like a social media detox. So maybe I can go maybe like 1 or 2 days without Wi Fi. I don't know about my entire trip.
Yeah, but it just has to be, like, a decision that you make to go off Wi-Fi. Like, if I lose Wi-Fi and I have stuff to do, it's not a good time. I have, like, the millennial panic.
Me
It's
too.
like,
Me
it
too.
reminds me of like when the year 2000 was happening, the whole Y2K. And it's like, we're going to go off grid and we're going to lose power and we're going to be
Yeah,
useless.
and they
Here
didn't
we
even
are
have
in
smartphones.
2025.
Yeah, like, what
Yep.
were we worried about in 1999?
Totally don't remember. I remember my mom talking about it, and I just didn't understand it. I was like, "What's Y2K again?" And she would explain it to me, and I just like my 12-year-old brain, it just was not clicking at all. I just didn't get it.
I just
Yeah.
thought I wasn't going to be able to get into like AOL or like the chat room or whatever.
Right, right. But
AOL
again, like
chat
looking back, it's
rooms.
like, can you imagine like how simple everything was? That was our biggest worry was like my chat room.
Good.
I
Those were some
needed
good
to
times.
update my status though. I had to put my emo lyrics on AOL. Like it was important to let my friends know I was mad at them.
That's taking it way back. But thank you so much, Sam, for being on the show. So, where can our listeners find you? And also, before we close out, if you had some recommendations for our listeners as far as mindset shift or practical step that you would recommend for them to get started in their stage of becoming a digital nomad.
Yeah. My tip for y'all is to get comfortable being alone. I'm gonna call a couple people out here and say you gotta go to the bathroom without your phone. You gotta be able to like be apart from the comfort things for like 5 minutes, like baby steps. Take yourself out to dinner then with a book instead of your phone. Like start doing these things because part of being a traveler means independence. And it doesn't mean that you have to solo travel, but it does mean that you have to get comfortable just being with yourself. And you can start doing those things today at home. So, like I said, leave your phone on the charger, walk away. Walk away. You can do it. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at nomad.copy. I'm on LinkedIn, Samantha Burmeister. And my website for my company is nomadcopyagency.com.
Awesome,
Amazing.
Sam. Thank you so much. And I love that closing note. Just leave your phone, get comfortable being alone because a lot of people really do use it as a crutch. And
Mhm.
as someone who travels solo, I do try to force myself to bring a book now when I go out and dine solo. I did that in France. I tried to appear like an intellectual with my book at the
Yeah, you
cafe.
like
You
get
know
to
what? It was
romanticize
fun.
your life a little bit.
Was fun. It was super fun. So we both really appreciate it. We're definitely feeling inspired. I will be bringing up the United app yet again today to look at airline tickets because of this conversation.
Spoken like somebody whose local airport is Newark.
Yeah, my gosh, yep. Newark Airport. Yep, I am not too far, like 30 minutes away. So it is like convenient and it goes everywhere, but Newark is its own little mess.
So, thank you again, Sam, for being on the show. And that is a wrap on another episode of Bon Voyage Besties. We loved chatting with Sam about her journey from 9 to 5 to full time entrepreneurship and how she built a business that's let her work from anywhere in the world. Her story is such a great reminder that freedom doesn't have to mean giving up stability. Sometimes it just means designing work that travels with you. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to give us a follow on Bon Voyage Besties on all social media and make sure to leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, safe travels and catch you on the next episode.